Well, welcome back. So we're moving on, and this is going to be a short and sweet one. And I love this one because it's going to have one of my favorite, the little tardigrades or water bears in it. So we're going to talk about the nematodes and the tardigrades in this short little lecture. So where are we at on right here? So we're moving up right here. We're going to talk about the roundworms for a little bit. Now we still are in the superphylum right here, Echizoa. Like I said, these are mouthfuls, and they're going to have two of the most diverse animal groups. Your next lecture is going to be on arthropods. They are so diverse they deserve their whole own lecture. Now with these guys, they're going to have a tough cuticle, so you're going to see this tough but flexible exoskeleton, especially for these nematodes. It's going to help protect from water loss, predators, and other damage from the external environment. Now with these, I'm also going to put subphylum tardigrades, which is not shown right here. And I love these guys. Like as I mentioned, I'm a huge fan of the show Cosmos, and he's talked about tardigrades multiple times, and these guys are quite cool. So we're going to talk about them at the end. So just a few slides on the nematodes, so phylum nematodes. So these are going to be your roundworms right here, looking quite cool. We're starting to get a little bit more complex. About 28,000 species fall into this group. Now they are trophoblastic and they have that bilateral symmetry, so you could go through and find a central axis between everything and get a mirror image. Now, diversity, you're going to see some of them are free living, but there are parasites that fall into this group too. Now, habitat, very diverse within this group. It's all over the place, and you're going to see that they are super important in ecosystems, and we'll talk about what ecosystems are later on. Now, they are both predators and prey, but you're going to see a large amount in this group are going to be parasitic. One of my favorite ones in this group happens to be the organism C. elegans. It is so helpful in studying of development. So we want to understand how do we go from that zygote of where you go from one cell to all the cells of total cells of the body. Well, this organism, those that study developmental biology study it a lot because it has a fixed number of cells, and they are able, I think it's 256, I'm not quite sure, but they're able to go and track the cells from start to the full-blown organism, and very important for understanding cell-to-cell signaling. So a little bit about these guys. Like I said, the book doesn't go into too much detail, but here's one slide that goes through talking about it a little bit more. Now, they're going to be mostly cylindrical, and they are going to range in size depending on where they are in their environment. We are starting to see the complete digestive system, and they're going to utilize both diffusion and excretion. There's going to be both a distinct mouth and anus for these organisms. And you're going to see around the mouth, they're going to have these sharp barbs, and they can protrude and pierce cells. Because remember, I mentioned a lot of these are going to be parasites. Now, on these, you're going to start to see this true epidermis, and it's going to be surrounded by that cuticle, which is that offers protection. Now, some of them are also going to have chitin present in the cuticle, and remember, chitin is a very similar to cellulose when it's one part of the macromolecules of sugars that we talked about. And what they're able to do, it provides protection. It makes up the exoskeleton of the arthropods that we're going to talk about shortly, and it can be shed and replaced. Now we're going to start to see some of the longitudinal muscles start to show up in each of these, which are really not showing in this diagram right here. But you're going to see nerves extend into the muscles. So what's interesting about these, they're going to lack circular muscles. So they're going to be constantly wiggling. So if you go towards the end and watch some of the videos on them, these guys, they don't kind of like squirm like you're used to seeing earthworms, but it's kind of like constantly just moving around because they lack the circular muscles. Now they are going to have these nerve cords. They're going to form a ring kind of around the pharynx, and that's where we're going to start to see this brain region start to form. Now, we start to see dioecious species right here. So we have separate males and females, and they will go through and utilize sexual reproduction. We also have found some that are monoecious, sorry, and they can also utilize parthenogenesis. So not too much on them, but you're starting to see we're getting a little bit more complex. Now, the tardigrades really aren't mentioned in your book, but I wanted to talk about them a little bit. So these have been called slow steppers or water bears. So they have this plump little body. They are actually really small, less than a millimeter in length, but they're going to find them mostly in marine, freshwater, and terrestrial environments throughout the world, about 1,000 species. Now, what's really cool about these guys, they can enter what's called cryptobiosis, which means they are super resistant to multiple environmental challenges. These are probably some of the very primitive, these animals have been around a long time. Now, what's great about them is they can go through the process of desiccation. They can survive in low temperatures, high temperatures, radiation, vacuum environments. They pretty much can survive anywhere. They can survive in the harshest of places. They've seen they can survive in space, outside in space. And what they can do is they can actually suspend their metabolic activity for years and survive with loss of 99% of water. I find that kind of cute. They actually are kind of cute looking, and find it fascinating. Like I said, he talks about them on Cosmos all the time. So here's kind of the image. They're kind of transparent when you look at them, but you know, their little head, these little feet right there. But they have these cylindrical bodies, and they have these 4 legs that are terminating in little claws. Now they go through and they do have a cuticle, just like their friends, the nematodes, and they have a fixed number of cells in their body. Now, what do they eat? Well, they feed on plants. They are smaller animals than them. Now, they don't have any specialized circulatory structures for moving blood around, and there's no respiratory structures either. We are starting to see that they do have a dorsal brain connected to a ventral nerve cord, and you're going to see some segmented ganglia associated with the appendages. They do have a pair of simple eye spots. I don't know if you can see it on the previous one, but you're going to see with these guys, most of them are going to be dioecious, where you're going to have males and females. They're going to utilize external fertilization. So the book doesn't really talk about them, but I thought they were kind of cool to mention. If you want to pick these guys, you're more than welcome to. So this one was short and sweet. Here's some more review, but mostly fun videos. And once again, credit for my images.